After we have studied the definition, or we have come to know, or we have learned the definition of primary sector, what does primary sector basically refers to, the next thing that we are going to learn is what are the reasons for the allied sectors to grow, for the expansion. So we have the reasons for the expansion of allied sectors. Reasons for the expansion of the allied sectors. Number one, we talk about, before coming to it, let us know that agriculture, if we talk about typical agriculture, that is cultivation of crops, most of the crops are seasonal in nature. Most of the crops are seasonal in nature. So, to the farmers, to the rural sector, the cultivation of crops or farming, typical agriculture as we talk about, may not be providing employment and income opportunities throughout the year. And I repeat that the typical agriculture cultivation of crops which are mostly seasonal in nature, they do not provide, or they may not provide, employment and income opportunities to the rural people throughout the year. Plus, and there are risks. Not an enough amount of potential rainfall which were required. Natural calamities like flood or drought. All these, when these natural calamities come into the factor, come into consideration, come into force, you see, the natural calamities cannot be handled by man, or they cannot be restricted by human forces. So when these come into effect, there is typical fluctuation of income of these farmers or the agricultural producers, rural people and all. So, to avoid this income fluctuation and to provide some scope of better employment opportunities, I repeat, please listen carefully, to avoid such income fluctuations and to avoid risk, to manage those income fluctuations and to avoid risk, as the risks of all these factors as we mentioned, the farmers or the rural people or the agricultural producers get involved in some allied activities to avoid the risk of getting low income level, so that if these allied activities are there, then they can at least manage with that. They can keep a moderate income to sustain their livelihood. Okay, so one of the important factor or reason for expansion of the allied sector is risk aversion. Okay, one of the important factor of the reason for expansion of allied sector is risk aversion. And secondly, as we discussed, that if such income fluctuations are there, if such natural calamities are there, if those seasonal effects are adversely affecting the employment of the rural people, then how these rural people can sustain throughout a year sustainable income, continuity? We talk about continuity. How can they manage? So at that point of time, the question of these allied activities like dairy farming, poultry farming, fisheries, involved in mining and quarrying activities, all other activities as we talked about in the allied sectors, allied activities. They can provide a scope for better employment, or rather sustainable, allowing or bringing them sustainable income. So, greater and sustainable income opportunities, providing sustainable income opportunities. So these are the two reasons basically that account to the expansion of the allied sector, or as we call the reason for expansion of the allied sectors. Two reasons, explanations in brief, the basic thing as I told you. Listen it carefully more than once. You will be able to write out that what needs to be exactly written for these 2 points, and definitely textbook is there with you. So these are the two factors that you need to learn. It's reason for expansion of the allied sector. Okay. Now next we come to the examples of allied sectors in Indian economy. Now there are many examples. We discuss here with the three significant sectors of the allied activities. Three significant activities that are mostly conducted in India. Okay, that are mostly conducted in India. Now, number one, we talk about one of the example, very prominent example, is the poultry and dairy farming. Is the poultry and dairy farming. What we refer to mainly poultry and dairy farming. What we mainly refer to, definitely you have some idea, livestock business. Okay, that is handling or working with the livestock. Okay, including livestock business. It may be with respect to the poultry. It may be with respect to dairy farming. You have cattle rearing, all these things. So basically talking about poultry farming, dairy farming is one of the typical example that is conducted in India, big business. Livestock business, working with this farms, you are having not only so many types of poultry items, starting from eggs to the items that we have in our food as dishes, in different types of dishes. So that's number one. Dairy farming, milk products, starting from your very favorite Cadbury's to number of dairy products, like not only milk but from there butter, cheese, biscuits, milk products and all. So many milk products. Okay, different type paneer and all. So many milk products which are being used directly or indirectly as food items which are consumed daily, and used indirectly in various other industries too. So poultry and dairy farming are very important or prominent allied activities in the Indian agriculture. Number two, as we come here, is fisheries. Fisheries also, you have different types. You talk about aquaculture, fishes being brought to the market for daily consumption. That is a very common one. Okay, that is number one, aquaculture. Then you have inland fisheries. You have different marine fisheries, working with the marine fisheries. So fisheries, they have different categories in which where these particular activities are conducted, the fisheries activities are conducted. You may be having, you have like we're talking about aquaculture, inland fisheries, fish water aquaculture, as we were talking about. Okay. Fresh water, salt water, etc. Different types. Huge business. Even it contributes to exports. Contributes very much to exports. Contributes very much to exports. Export business. Okay. And finally, another very prominent one. The third one is the horticulture. Fruits, vegetables, decorative plants, medicinal plants. Fruits and vegetables are very common. And plus you have decorative plants and very important medicinal plants. Now these contribute a lot towards the employment sector. This sector and all these three sectors. Why did I tell that? These are the three significant ones. These are the three very significant examples with respect to the allied sectors that are being worked in the Indian agriculture, other than cultivation of crops. Agriculture, typical agriculture, cultivation of crops. Other than that, the allied activities, among the allied activities, which are the most prominent ones. This also contribute very much. Contribute very much to employment sector. Contribute very much to employment. Okay, so these are the most important examples with respect to the allied activities in Indian agriculture. Primary sector, we have discussed about the definition of primary sector, the agricultural sector and the allied activities. Very common examples of allied activities, very significant allied activities we need to study, that is these three. Along with that, you have so many, you have examples of, we talked about mining, quarrying, forestry, so many things we talked about, but these are basically the most significant ones.